Good morning, everybody. I'm Tom Bracey with RE/MAX Elite Homes, QC, and today we are going to talk about the as-is scenario in writing offers. And so the name of our tape today is Be a Whiz with As-is. Okay? So we want everybody to be really good at being able to write offers with this situation, and also being able to list properties and working with our sellers if they want to sell as-is. I want to just quickly define what as-is means. We're also going to just quickly go through some things that we can do to help our buyers and sellers when we're writing offers for them. And there are some forms that we have on the intranet that can help you write a good offer and represent your seller well when you get offers on your properties that are as-is. Okay? Basically, as-is means that the seller doesn't want to fix anything, right? Okay, so they just want to put the property on the market. They want to sell it as is, where is. They don't want to have to repair anything. Okay, so not always an easy way to sell a property, but it can be made a lot easier if we do some real simple things. Okay, when we're working with our buyers, we want to see what's in the MLS information. So if the listing agent is written in there in the remarks that it's as is, then we already kind of know what we're dealing with. Okay, so make sure you read that carefully and understand so you can let your buyer know what is expected. The property condition acknowledgement form, when we're working with our buyers, this is really helpful, and it's on the intranet, and this outlines the 4 basic things that we're looking for in properties. Okay, structural, mechanical, safety, and health. Okay, so regardless if the property's as is or not, this really gives the buyer some good an outline of what they should be requesting if they were going to request repairs. Okay, so anyway, I would make sure that gets signed. And if I'm listing the property, I want to make sure that buyer's agent has included that. I can request that they fill that out. They don't have to do it, but it's certainly something that you can ask for. Okay. Make sure that when you're showing the property, if you're a buyer's agent, that you see it thoroughly. Okay. If they want to bring a friend, a contractor, a handyman, or somebody, a lot of times investors will do this. They'll see the property, but they'll bring somebody with them, so they have that extra pair of eyes when they're seeing a property that's as is. Okay, because they know that the seller's not going to fix anything. So, they could ask for repairs, but the seller's probably not going to do that. Okay. Make sure when you're representing the buyer that you write the words as is on the offer on page 2 under other terms. So everybody knows, even though it's in the MLS and the buyer knows, just go ahead and write it again in there at the bottom of page 2, property being sold as is. So the attorneys see that. Everybody knows that the property is being sold as is. Okay? Another thing you want to make sure you do is you want to check on page 4 of your offer. You want to check no under number 8, that the seller's not warranting anything. Okay? Sometimes if the property is new on the market, it's an investor type property, it's an as-is property, you're going to have tons of people flocking to that property. You're going to get multiple offers. And if you are going fast through your offer and you make the mistake of not checking no and you check yes, that offer is probably going to get thrown out because the listing agent doesn't want the seller having to be responsible for any of those things. Okay, so make sure you do that on your offer when you're representing your buyer. Okay. The next thing you're going to want to do, and sometimes we will skip and forget things, is you're not going to request a home warranty. Okay. Again, the seller just wants to sell the property. They don't want to have a lot of extra costs involved. So you're going to be a stronger buyer and a stronger buyer agent if you don't request any home warranty. Okay. So good to do there. The next thing is we have on our intranet, this is really nice, it's the as-is addendum. So on page 7 under other addendums, you can put the as-is addendum in there, and that clearly explains, there's 3 things. The buyers can waive all their inspections. They can do inspections just for information. Maybe when they did their walkthrough, there's maybe some things that they feel that they might have missed, so they're going to have inspections, but they're still going to buy the property. They're just doing it for information. And then the third one is they're going to do inspections, but they have the right to back out. Okay, so if the seller filled out the seller disclosure properly and they indicated there was a crack in the basement wall, okay, that's a structural thing, mechanical safety, health things. So if those things were already disclosed to the buyer ahead of time, then they can't really back out of the deal because those things were already disclosed to them. If they were not disclosed and these inspections that they want to do reveal issues, then they have the right to get out of the deal. Okay, so if you have a buyer who is maybe not as experienced in buying real estate and they're buying a property as is, maybe it's a first-time buyer. They've never bought a property before, so they're a little bit leery about buying an as-is property. That third option is really a good one to check for them. Okay, so use that form that's also available, for you. Okay. The other thing when you're representing a buyer, lastly, is the termite report clause does not really count. Okay, so the seller is still responsible for that. So you can still do your termite report inspection, and that clause is basically going to still hold the seller responsible for treating termites unless you specifically have that crossed out. So again, if you're representing the buyer, if you go to the page on the termite report, you could cross that out maybe during your walkthrough with your buyer or the buyer's contractors, before you even write the offer. You can kind of check around and see if there was any termite issues, or they would see, have them look. Then you could, again, to make your offer a little bit stronger, cross out the termite language on, I think it's on page 4 of your offer. Okay. So anyway, those are the best ways to have a really strong offer for your buyer. Okay, if you're representing the seller, you get these offers in, it's an as-is property. Probably the best thing you can ever do on any listing you get to avoid a lot of problems is get the property pre-inspected. So if you have it pre-inspected ahead of time, you're already going to know what issues are out there. You can disclose those, and you can let the seller know, that you're basically selling the property as is because you've disclosed everything that can be disclosed basically by doing the inspections ahead of time. Okay, so regardless if it's an as-is property or not, really good advice to get the property pre-inspected. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to make sure you do is make sure that you have the seller disclosure filled out properly, put everything in there. You don't want to hide anything. Okay. Next thing is make sure you get the seller's permission to advertise the property as is. Okay. You might think it's the greatest thing in the world to market a property as is, but some sellers might not want to do that because they don't want people to think that there's something wrong with their property or that it's not a good quality property. Okay. So make sure that you get the seller's permission to put any comments in your marketing and in the MLS about as is ahead of time. Okay, and again, you're getting these offers coming in on your listings. Again, you're going to basically do the same things as I was mentioning when we were talking about representing the buyer. You're going to make sure as is written at the bottom of page 2. You're going to make sure that there is no warranties that we mentioned before on I think it was page 4. No home warranty, and that there is no warranties that the seller is going to make these items working, because again, it's an as-is property. So as you're looking through your offers and you're representing that seller, you're going to make sure that these items are also checked. Okay. If the buyer wants to get inspections done, make sure that they again use that as-is addendum, and really, which of these 3 options do they want to use, and you can guide your seller as to how to handle that if the buyer, includes that in their offer. Okay. And then you can discuss with the seller if they, again, with the termite clause, is that something they want stricken out? Because you have to make sure they understand that even though they're not getting inspections, they still have that termite clause in there. So you're going to have to specifically remove that from the offer if they don't want to have to deal with any termite issues or termite damage. Okay. So again, just because you're not getting inspections doesn't mean that the termite clause is immediately removed from that. It's still part of the offer. Okay. So that should really help you with your as-is situations. More and more properties are being sold that way. Make sure you know what it is. Make sure you know how the best way is to represent your clients, whether it's a buyer or a seller, and make sure you go on the internet and use these forms that we have for you. And hopefully you'll be, at the end of the day, a whiz with as-is. Okay? Have a good day. We'll talk to you later.